Hello and welcome to CT Politics TV. I'm veteran political strategist Dan Newmeyer, and today my guest is Ann Manusky. She is the president of the Connecticut Republican Assembly. And you might be like, well, what the heck is that? Well, it's a political action group that is more of conservative Republicans, and they have kind of coalesced around a document of terms to be in the group of things that they all agree on. And one of the political actions that they're undertaking is an event to support parental rights, which has been in the news and is a pretty big political football at the moment. Who has control over our kids? Is it the state and public schools, or are they our children that we want to watch over until they become adults and have to follow society's rules? It's a big issue right now. But without further ado, let's bring her on. Hi, Ann. How are you?
Hi, Dan. Good. Thank you for having me today.
So I'm excited that you came on, and I try to talk to people of all backgrounds. I'm kind of a centrist Republican myself, and so I'm shunned by both the far right and the far left. But now, when did you get interested in politics, and what's your background? Where are you from, and where'd you go to school, and what do you do for work, or tell us about yourself?
Well, again, thank you for having me. I got started. Well, my background is education and counseling. I was an elementary school counselor in Houston, Texas, 25 years ago. My husband and I are originally from Pennsylvania, but we spent some time in Houston, and I went to University of Houston for graduate school, and so I was a counselor there in the schools, and that was the spark. I guess coming to Connecticut was really the spark of getting involved with education and schooling, and being a parent and knowing that things weren't quite right in the public schools. So I would go to my local board meetings, and speak at the board meetings, and things weren't really getting done. So I went up the ladder, as one does when you want to get more information or try to make change. So I've been involved with that for, my oldest is 25, so probably 18 years or so. And I started going to Hartford um, to try to get answers in about 2012.
Was Houston much different than Connecticut in how they do things, or what was it about? What was it that kind of sparked your ire to want to get involved or want to take it up the food chain?
Being a parent myself, so we moved to Connecticut, and we've had our children here in Connecticut. So it wasn't until I was in the school as a parent and seeing what was going on that made me get involved, and wanting better for all children. And certainly I did it as a, in my work there in Houston, but here I haven't practiced as a counselor. And actually I dropped my license because it's well, we're facing so much here in Connecticut. And so I joined a group of Republicans who also wanted better, wanted more, and saw the issues about, I think we're organized 7 years now. We're just around 7 years. Mark Anderson was he was the organizer of the Connecticut Republican Assembly. And we are a national organization, National Federation of Republican Assemblies. And we're in about 25, 26 states. I'm not quite sure right now. And
What
Sorry.
were the no? What were some of the issues that concerned you or made you get politically active?
Um, well, education was my issue, the spark, and meeting with other like-minded people who believe in the Constitution, believe in their natural rights. We all gathered, and uh, I am a charter member of the CTRA. So we all decided that the Republican Assembly would be something good for Connecticut, and to connect with fellow Republicans who were felt disenfranchised and want to have more Republicans. Our mission is to get Republicans elected, so that's
Hmm.
our main focus. And
Was there anything like, did something happen in the schools, or was there anything in particular that you were in disagreement or didn't align with you that made you do that, or was it more just policies at the state level that you wanted to see from more of a Republican viewpoint? You mentioned the Constitution and stuff, and it depends who you talk to. And a lot of people think the communists have taken over Connecticut on one side, and on the other, they can't be far enough left. So it could be a pretty jarring experience for someone who is from Houston to come into this and see things differently. But was there anything in particular in the schooling at that time that did that, or was it more just getting aligned with your politics?
I can't really say I was ever political until um, a few years of attending Board of Ed meetings and getting what seemed to be nowhere.
Hmm.
So that was when I realized something's seriously wrong here. And I was never involved in Texas. I was a school counselor for communities
Hmm.
and schools in Spring Branch Independent School District, which is just outside the 610 Loop. So it wasn't inner city Houston, but it was the projects. I had 3 projects that the children came to our school. So I had serious issues, and um, I again, not having my children there, but planned on having our kids, if we had stayed there, come to my local school, and
Hmm.
under thought at that point that kids were learning how to read and write and do arithmetic, and their troubles, trying to help them with their family situations, and then moving here and being in our town, and not again not being heard. It was as if people had tin ears. Didn't
Hmm.
understand that expression until having to go to Board of Ed meetings and then not get heard. So
Yeah.
I'm only one person, and so we would have a lot of, our parents in our town that would go to board meetings and try to make subtle changes in regard to the gifted and talented program, and reading. And again, I had a background in counseling, so things just didn't seem um, to gel, so to speak. Why were things being upgraded, updated? And so then when I realized what Common Core was, that was when my second son was just in first grade. I think it was about then. Um, and it was being touted as marvelous. I'm like, okay, I'll look into this. And then understanding that it would just push curriculum down on the kids. And I mean, that's a whole that's a whole story itself. So
Well, no, I mean, that's kind of what I'm trying to get at, is that, what were the things that you were dissatisfied with? So it sounds like you weren't getting any communication established with the district or the powers that be there, and then Common Core, which frankly not too many people understand, um, uh,
Yeah, they just
which
know it's wrong. They just know there's something not quite right. Why isn't my child succeeding reading and math, and it's contorted, and again, the curriculum is actually pushed down grade levels. So
Mhm,
it's damaging some of our children. And when you know the real, again, it's intricacies of what they're actually doing. So anyway, I got involved, and there was a Stop Common Core group already formed with parents all around Connecticut, and um, so we would. I got involved that way in talking to legislators, and still today we're dealing with it. So I got involved with a larger group with CTRA, and
mhm,
uh, more voices. We have 8 counties in Connecticut, as you probably know, and we have members in every one of the counties right now. I'm really proud to say we have 3
mhm,
chapters in Fairfield County, in Hartford County, and New Haven County. So we're blossoming. We're connecting fellow Republicans, and even people who are, unaffiliated and changing to Republican, and people who've come to our meetings who are like, well, wait a minute, I'm a Democrat. And we're like, well, you do need to be a Republican, and sign off on our principles, as you alluded to. We are principled Republicans, and we have
mhm.
13 principles. And as long as you align with us, then please, come on board and be a voice for we the people in Connecticut.
So in that respect, CTRA has a set of principles, the 13 principles. Do you have that list handy by chance?
I do not have it handy, but I can probably go through like
Yeah,
all
name a few.
12 of 13.
That's right.
So I think we
Um,
talked about that briefly at the Yukon symposium.
yes, yes. When we met at the Parents' Rights Forum that UConn had, and there was a sizable group of probably 30 to 50, maybe parents and protesters for rights, and just a couple protesting on the other side for trans kids and Black Lives Matter, I think is what they were um, protesting about. But go ahead for the audience, rattle off a few here, and
Sure.
so basically, so if somebody wants to join the group, then they need to obviously be a Republican and registered as a Republican, and which makes sense. And then you have a group of principles, and what are those?
So the principles are their constitutional principles largely. Um, in unalienable rights, the Judeo-Christian foundation, right to bear arms, right to have the belief in the national defense. The family unit is a man, a woman, and children. The sanctity of life, free market system of government, small government. Um, what am I missing? Victims' rights. We believe, the victim has a voice
Mhm.
and should use it. We support them. I think that's
So,
most of
so
them.
if somebody wasn't Jewish or Christian, then that wouldn't be a good fit for them.
So people of all cultures, I think, are looking at life in many different ways today, and I think that they need to look at themselves, who they are, and if they align with the Jewish or Christian cultures, which um, we all spring. I was raised Catholic, so we
Mhm,
springboard off of Judeo-Christian system
mhm,
of the Jewish faith. So, um, but it's up to the individual to, if anybody would want to come and talk with us and have a conversation about that. We do have people of Jewish faith and Christian of all kinds, and
mhm,
people today are many people, not all, but are with blended families with parents that are of different faiths. People are growing, and so it's up to the individual person. But that's one of our principles.
Hmm. And then in terms of being pro-life, that's one of the things you're signing off on, right? In the values.
Yes, yes,
So
babe.
so somebody who is pro-choice wouldn't necessarily be a good fit,
No, they probably wouldn't.
right? And then uh, what are a couple of the other ones? I'm sorry.
Um, the uh, the family, the husband,
Right,
wife, and a child, the
right.
family unit, that the national defense. We have the belief in, having a national defense.
Hmm.
Um, that the uh, right to bear arms, the individual right, and free market system,
Hmm.
free market economy. Um, yeah, I'm not thinking
Yeah.
what the other couple ones
Those
are.
those are all pretty steadfast American values.
And they're based on the Constitution, most of them. Like,
Mhm.
yes, you have, yes.
Would you say that CTRA is a religious organization or
No,
no?
no. I think,
Um, Go
I
ahead.
mean, again, we believe in natural rights. We believe that um, the Constitution is the framework of where we springboard for all American all Americans able to independently, live, and thankful of our founding fathers, and following the rule of law. Um, we certainly, different individuals are religious in um, different aspects, but we're not a religious organization per se.
Hmm. And so one of the things that we were at the conference that we met at, the parental rights, is now going to be a focus, and you're having a lobby day tomorrow at from 10 to 12 in room 1C of the Legislative Office Building in Hartford. And that's led by Senator Sampson, correct?
It's not led by Senator Sampson. It's four organizations. It's the Connecticut Republican Assembly.
Hmm.
It's Family Institute of Connecticut.
Yeah,
It's
I know them.
Families for Freedom, and
Hmm.
Moms for Liberty, the Hartford County chapter. There's certainly
Hmm.
another chapter too in Connecticut. So the they're four women, and we saw each other at different events, and know that our parental authority is being usurped through the schools and different state laws, and we connected and decided that we would have a lobby day. So certainly, Senator Sampson, we're thankful that he was able to get us a room. Different
Hmm.
members are his constituents. So yeah, we will be lobbying on uh, HB 1166 and SB 6410. They're the main
Hmm.
bills.
And
Certainly,
what are those two bills about?
so 1166 is in regard to mandating surveying of the kids, and a lot of schools are already doing surveying of the climate. I have a hard time even saying it. Um, so we, as a resident, and my children are no longer in the public schools, but you believe that you're sending your kids to school to get an education. And now what they're doing is they're surveying kids, um, and the questions can be, it's actually psychological manipulation. Again, my background with counseling, they're giving them materials, and this is already being done in the Easton School District. This is why I know it, because we fought this last year, and other school districts have fought this too, that they're asking the kids inappropriate questions at different ages. They're asking them what their gender is, and it's not just male or female. So that's psychological training or manipulation if you're doing this to young children. Um, and the other questions are, they're frankly, it's against the Fourth Amendment for undue search and seizure. So it's quite invasive. And again, some of these bills, they might, come out with somebody having a good intention. Certainly we want to make sure that our children are healthy in the schools. We want to make sure our children are healthy, and when they're in the schools, if certain situations happen, then to get in
Let's
touch with the
no,
parent.
let's talk about like so a survey on climate change is what you're talking about.
It's called climate change, Dan, and I know you and I are somewhat of the same age, and it's not climate. I think they're conflating the climate change stuff that's going on and saying school climate, and it's confusing.
Oh, I see.
Oh, yeah. So it's confusing on purpose. So it's supposed to be the school climate, as if it's
Ah,
supposed to be a nice school climate. And of course we would want that. I mean, when we went to school, the school, your classroom, the teacher ran the classroom, and she worked to have she or he would work to have what one would I don't we didn't even have a term for it then. You just behaved and you did your work and went to
had a good
lunch or
climate.
whatever, right? Pardon?
And then it was a good climate.
And then it was a good climate, I guess. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
But go ahead.
oh, I was going to say, so like one of the things that, that is the transgender issue or gender in uh, uh, in general, gender in general, is a huge issue nowadays. When most of us didn't really think about it too much, I think a couple of years ago, several years back, and now it seems like it's everywhere that people have pronouns now that they insist that you call his, him, or hers, hers, and I'm not too. Mine is huh what those those are my pronouns. I don't really kind of understand the whole thing, but I guess it's how people would prefer to be addressed. And so what when I look at this, I'm trying to kind of understand why there's good ideas, and then there's bad ideas, and then there's ones that that don't seem to kind of align. And what I get from this is what they're trying to accomplish is that people who feel that they don't fit in a male female gender and then identify as the opposite or none, um, uh, have felt left out of the binary system or of male and female. And I don't know. I think in the past, things like drag shows or drag queens were, have been around forever, but they were kind of limited more to adults choosing
They
to
were
do that
limited. They
behavior.
were they were for adults, right? So now they're bringing it
Yeah.
in and bringing drag queen shows into churches.
Hmm.
Hello. My local church had a drag queen some kind of event. The
Was that
libraries, the
in
school
Madison?
libraries. Pardon?
The one in
No, in
Madison?
Easton, in
Oh, in
Easton.
Easton.
Yeah, it wasn't really published as much or didn't get as much uh, airtime or whatever you want to call it. So, yeah, they're bringing in children into places that I, as a parent, would never take my child to a drag queen show. If people want to do that, then that's fine. It's your business as far as um, our individual rights. The fact that they're bringing it into libraries, public spaces, inappropriate, putting it in front of public schools. We've seen all around the country. I get a lot of information from different sources, and yeah, it's not teaching the kids one ABCs and one, two, threes. And again, we are individuals, and if parents so choose, I find it very from a counseling perspective, that's not going to be helpful to a child in the fact that you're further confusing children. Under the age of 16 for the state of Connecticut, there's law about morality and moral turpitude, and I think that's crossing the line when uh, public public libraries and other churches are getting involved with such things. Again, the freedom of doing things in your house, or we have freedoms, and certainly I love this country as far as it being a free country, and
Mhm.
bringing things into the schools, the pornography that's being brought into the schools. It's quite disturbing, and I feel for parents who have children in the public schools today.
One of the so when the drag queen story hours were going on, and they announced that they were having a drag queen bingo at Madison Congregational Church, I went down there and I said, I'm going to go in there and I'm just going to see what this is all about and everything. And I interviewed some protesters outside who were just adamant that it was an abomination, who were, to be fair, pretty religious folks. And that's what they said: this is abomination against God and his will and everything. And when I went in, I didn't really see any kids there. I think there were two uh, teenagers, 14, 15 maybe, that I saw. Most of them were adults who were playing bingo, and there were two drag queens, and they were lip syncing and dancing around the room and collecting dollar bills.
Okay, well,
And
Dan, I like to stop you here because
sure.
the reason why you wanted to bring me on, what I understood was the intent was to talk about CTRA
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
and about tomorrow.
yeah.
Again,
But,
this is something going on
oh, I agree with you. I agree with
in
you.
our
And what
in our state severely.
Yeah.
Um,
The point I wanted to make was just that seemed very different to me than some of the other things I'd seen, which were people kind of performing inappropriately in front of children in other situations that I've seen on the internet. So I'm not trying to take a side here on this thing, and I'm definitely respect your point of view on this. I was just saying that at this particular event, um, it didn't seem to be, sexualizing children at this particular one, but I've seen other ones where there's hip gyrating and a lot of stuff that, to me, I wouldn't have brought my children to see that, and I question that. So I'm not, please forgive me. I'm not trying to take you down a road here that you don't want to go, and I am absolutely in support of parental rights and trying to figure out where that line is. And that's really why I wanted to have you on, is so we could discuss that in detail. So please continue. I mean, I know that there's a lot of inappropriate material that I've seen that is coming out of school libraries. I just saw one today that seemed to be more pornographic in nature than not.
yeah,
And
how sad is that? Like, if you're a parent of a child in an elementary school or middle school or high school, I just saw. I don't know what book you're talking about, but or material, but I know yesterday that somebody was discussing a book called The Bluest Eye that has been controversial, and they said that it's actually in an assignment,
hmm,
and so it's really nefarious where the schools have gone. Um, uh, they're hiding the materials. They're not, I personally, in 2018, um, requested, and I don't know the wording, how I put it, but it was so that I would get the family life, sex ed, healthy and balanced living materials. And in education, it's scope, sequence, and materials of curriculum. So they gave me the scope and sequence, but the materials, I barely got them. So why is that happening? They don't want the parents to know what they're teaching in the schools, and it's really, I mean, parents are waking up, and thankfully, we're supporting parents' rights and your right to see the curriculum that is, the materials that are being put in front of your child. A lot of parents got the wake up call during COVID because their kids' computers were there and they were able to either see or hear, what was being taught, and
Mhm.
were alarmed. We have a lot of parents in Connecticut that are they're homeschooling. I
Mhm.
get notes. Got a note yesterday that somebody had is decided not their child's not going back after Easter break.
Hmm.
Like, it's happening daily, and these parents, it's wrong. It's wrong on the part that, um, we have a contract with schools that you're supposed to teach ABCs, 1, 2, 3, science, history, whatever. I shouldn't say whatever now, I guess, because
Mhm.
it's getting academics so that your child is learning so they're educated to go on into society,
Mhm.
right, as a good citizen.
Yeah,
Uh,
I 100% agree with that. What I'm trying to decide or figure out is it seems that there's a line somewhere, right? That's this is okay, but from here over there is not okay. You know what I mean?
yep,
I know that, and this is just myself personally. When we were in third and fourth grade, that's when we got the talk in school, and the girls went in one room, and we went in another room, and we had the talk, and all the subjects were covered there in terms of sex and what it was about, and how it was done. There wasn't it was a very clinical discussion, and it lasted really a day, I think, if I recall, and that happened, and so I'm not sure what third or fourth grade is, probably around 7 to 9, maybe, or 10 years old, maybe, I think.
yep.
Um, and that was it. But um, what we're seeing now is it seems to go way beyond that type of a discussion of feminine products and whatnot, and time of the month and everything else, and that's what I'm trying to figure out is the I don't know if you saw this, but in Missouri, the Republicans there um, had a list of books that they wanted banned, and they were in public libraries. And the public libraries in Missouri sued um, the legislature or the Republicans, and so the Republicans decided to pass a bill to defund all the public libraries. And
Wow.
so, yeah, and to me that seemed over the top, right? I mean, what the heck books are we talking about here? I mean, that seemed extreme to me, right? Is that okay? This is the public library. This isn't the schools. But you know what I mean? So
Oh,
I'm trying
yeah,
to,
I'd have to see the bill, I'd have to see the
yeah,
information,
yeah,
but for you to say that they decided to defund the public library,
all.
yeah, I would find that would be wrong. In the frame of our state, and in knowing what has happened, uh, and knowing my own Easton Public Library, which I called and asked them about several books and what was on the shelf versus what was an ebook because you know about ebooks, right? I'm sure with
No, I've enlightened me.
no.
I'm kind of
Again, we're about the
I'm
same
pretty
age, so
dense
and
here.
you're very
I'm trying to figure
technically
it out.
oriented with telecommunications here. So so basically that you'd be able to download a book on your Kindle or your phone or whatever.
Sure.
So what the thing is that this is nefarious the way it all came about, that there wasn't pornography in the public libraries or our school libraries until when? When did that happen, Dan? CABE, do you know what CABE is? The
No, what's that?
Connecticut Association for Boards of Education.
Okay.
They had a symposium or whatever they want to call it, on book banning and what you should know just
Hmm,
yesterday. I didn't go. I did
okay.
see the flyer, but they're going to tell everybody, the superintendents of schools and whoever, they're going to tell them what they should know about book banning. Well, my question is, when did pornographic books and materials and e-materials, electronic materials, get allowed in the schools? I would gather that most of this came in somehow during the last 2 to 3 years. What happened during the last 2 to 3 years? COVID. So
Hmm,
how did they get this stuff passed through?
hmm,
So it's nefarious. It's stealthily done. There's a very small group of people that are doing this throughout um, Connecticut and nationally. So again, to your point on Missouri, no, I would think that that is wrong to defund
yeah.
the library.
Well,
Find out.
again, and we're trying to think, I'm 58 now, and so I'm trying to kind of put it into some kind of context in my mind. Now, I know, like, I think the controversial book when I was in school was a book called "Hello, God, It's Me, Margaret," and it was
Yes,
about
it's in a
a
movie,
woman
right?
having her period. And at that time, that was a controversial book that some people didn't want in the library. And I don't think that's what we're talking about here from some of the things that I saw.
No.
No,
Yeah.
right? And
And in
so,
that time, we lived in a different time, and whatever libraries and whatever people in that community made decisions, they made decisions. They didn't defund the library. They were asking about this book on the appropriateness. Could it be? I asked my librarian, is the materials that I found out were in the Easton Library, are they on the adult shelf? Are they on the adult shelves? Are they in the children's section? Is there anything? Because I'm critical, I don't want to, defund my library.
right.
It's almost like Cabe talking about the banned books. Like it's an extremist point, and they want to drive
Y-
that home. The
Yeah, they want to
reality
make it
is
sound like, that, oh, it's the
those
Fahrenheit
crazy people.
451
They're
people.
so crazy. Yeah. When the reality is this was nefariously brought in through school curriculum directors, superintendents, the library association. One of the things is small government. That might have been one of the ones that I didn't mention. That we're about small government. So as long as we the people in each of the towns are making decisions for the good of the people in the towns, well, things work somewhat well. When you don't and you have top down government, that's not what our founding fathers wanted, and that's where this is all coming from. This is the state board of education, state department of education, CABE, CAPS, whoever up there up in Hartford, and those legislators in Hartford that have allowed for, as we're doing tomorrow,
Mhm.
um, uh, we're lobbying against 1166 and the intrusive nature of surveys on the children to be mandated. And the other point, the other bill, because I don't want to keep you in.
No, no, no,
I'm
no.
not
This is
looking
a
at the
good,
time.
great conversation. We're
The other,
getting
yeah,
through it.
I appreciate it too. I mean, we can learn from each other and go forward. We need to move forward in Connecticut. I think we can both agree to that. The other bill
Yeah.
that we're that we're lobbying against is 1166 is the one, 6410. And that one is really kind of funny because the original title for the bill, um, I don't have it here, but the title was, uh, I called it Animal Farm because basically it was giving, it wanted to create a division of such that legislators and elected officials um, would not have certain things said against them. And
Oh, is this the online harassment thing,
that's
Bill?
what that was part
Yes.
of the original title, I think. I think you're right. Now it's been softened to a working group, but it's still about oppressive language or something.
Mhm,
Again, I understand it's a really bad bill because what is it? It's anti-free speech. That's the
mm,
bottom line. So
mhm.
bad that you're going to say, Anne Manusky put "When Pigs Fly" or something that could be decided as bad speech, and there's no
Right.
hate
Well, I
speech or
think,
whatever. There's only
there must
speech.
be
So
laws already that against harassing people,
yeah,
or
right, right,
harassment, you know what I
right,
mean? It's
right.
one thing, I think, if, you're, and look at, you see it all the time, is people being rude or speaking their mind pretty vulgarly to people that they disagree with on the internet, and nobody's really for that, but it's their right to do it. At some point, I think it probably crosses a line and goes psycho on somebody, and then that you would think that would be covered by something else. So I understand the intent of that. I think one of the wins that the parents saw was they wanted to standardize the sex talk or whatever in
Oh,
all the public
comprehensive sex
schools.
ed.
Right.
Comprehensive sex ed in
Eh,
SB1? Yes, we
yeah,
got that removed.
yeah.
That was somewhat of a win, Dan, I have to tell you. We don't, I don't trust some of the legislators up there because we're concerned that that still may come up
Surface again.
somewhere. Yeah,
See
surface
that
again.
one. Just to be fair, to that one, to me, remember, I'm thinking back to 1971, or when I went through it or whatever. To me, uh, if you're talking about public schools, it didn't seem inappropriate to me that, if this is what the sex talk is at the appropriate age or whatever, that everybody, in the public schools would get that same talk. But what we're seeing is that what's included in that talk is nothing like the stuff that used to be talked about.
This is not
And
family life as it used to be called in Connecticut when, probably 12 years ago. The family life law is still on the books. The Connecticut statutes are such a mess because they just keep adding and adding. And then we have 3,000 bills, I think, originated this session. Like maybe they'll have to vote on like a ridiculous amount of bills. So it's nefarious in how, and again, it's top down. So there's evil people who want to push sexualize children, uh, uh, very young children. And I suggest, when we're done, you can look on my Facebook page or um, the I think it's on. I don't know the exact title, but it came out of actually Fox News did a piece on it that the International Planned Parenthood Association
mhm.
has the comprehensive sex ed and normalizing. That's the term I wanted to say. Normalizing this for young children, and it's they want to take the age away of what is appropriate age. So this is blurring the lines. This is enabling pedophiles. Bottom line, they want to take age appropriateness away. So that's on, again, Fox News brought that out in the last couple days. It's really um, evil to be normalizing sexual deviant behaviors. Uh,
Mhm.
and you said you've seen some of the materials, and
I have.
um,
Yeah,
it's shocking and perverse. And again, parents send their kids to school for reading, writing, and arithmetic. And that's what we need to return to, and not be surveying the kids, sexualizing kids,
mhm.
and
Let me ask you this, and this is really something that I'm trying to get my brain around. So we have the transgender issues, and we have the LGBT community, and this group of individuals that are gay, transgender. Uh, I forget all the acronyms that they are. And I think one of the pushbacks that I hear from the other side is that, look, okay, so you identify as the opposite sex as a kid. You know this when you're 8, 9 years old, that you're beginning puberty, and you don't want this, and you come out to your parents about that, and they flip out, you know, are horrified by it, and tell you that no, you are a boy or you are a girl, and that's the end of it or whatever. And then we know that there's a high suicide rate of these kids and these individuals. And the symposium that we both went to and couldn't get into, um,
oh,
was going to
I chose not to go. I chose to to not
not
to
going to
not
that.
go across the threshold of UConn Law School. So yeah, I was there
Yeah.
as a peaceful protester, as
Yeah.
in, we
I wanted
signed.
to go in and just hear what they were saying and get some pictures, and they wouldn't let me in even as a press person. But so so I guess, you know, so there's this argument, that's the argument there, is that this is a group of kids who are going through this. It used to be that they would say that gender dysphoria or whatever was in this, was a mental illness, that it was um, something that was classified by the DSM-4, I think, as gender dysphoria, and now they took that out of that category, and where is the protection for those kids if we know that they're in crisis to the point of suicide? But at the same time, I don't know that them cutting off their genitals, going on hormone therapies, which are not reversible, um, are at all the right thing, because they're still minors. And the fact that some of this is happening in other states that we find out behind the parents' back is very disturbing to me.
Oh, it's been going behind parents' backs in the state of Connecticut. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
and
so
so, but
the
do you see
fact
what
that
I'm saying? Is
parents.
that, like, do you? I mean, I don't know if you or your group, do you recognize the LGBT community and this group of kids who have this high suicide rate? I mean, how do you negotiate that?
Well, we have our 13 principles, and
That's not
one needs to see if you fit with our organization or not. It's not we reach out to
true.
certain people of certain
No,
whatever.
but
It's
these
people
people
come to us.
exist. That's all I'm saying.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I'm a
yeah,
former counselor. As far as that, I dropped my license when the state of Connecticut in, I think it was 2017, uh, 2017 or 18. It seemed like a lot of this stuff really, things went really badly here in Connecticut. The legislature has been majority Dem, and I'm a former Dem, just for
Mm,
the record there.
sure.
Um,
Me too.
the I dropped my license right around the time when the conversion therapy bill went through, and now we find out that what has really gone on, and again, it's very nefarious. Um, uh, I forget the name of the organization, but they came around to the states. There was probably money involved or power, because that's the things that, you can't serve God and mammon. That people are being manipulated, and certainly parents. Again, I go back to parents. It's all goes back to parents, because the children are under attack in the state of Connecticut and on all states that either take this power or money, and um, the parents don't know what's going on in the schools,
Right.
and here their children are in third and fourth grade. Um, and that's a very confusing time for kids. It's a latent stage, and just, they're exploring the world, and they're being now sent on a bus to a school and being taught inappropriate material, inappropriate teaching. Unfortunately, Governor Lamont was caught on a during the debate saying that Connecticut didn't teach about gender. And the State Department of Ed, somebody had to go and erase what was in existence. Yeah. Oh, you didn't know. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I
in
remember.
the healthy and balanced living framework, there's two copies for 2021 and 2022. And
Hmm.
2021's copy is what's circulated in Connecticut, but there's now a new version that doesn't have this. I think it's
So,
2021.
so I guess my question was more to the point is if you have a child who is going through this period of their life and they don't feel that their gender uh, is who they identify with, and their parents are against it, it how do you keep that kid from killing themselves, or should there be, you know, therapy or any intervention to try to at least get the kid to legal age to where they can make their own decisions, or is
Well,
it
again,
just
this is really more than talking about
yeah.
the bills for
I'm just
tomorrow,
trying to
Dan.
kind of
I could have a
wrestle with that.
conversation with you all day about this, and
Yeah.
certainly this is disturbing on the fact that the schools are usurping parental rights. Parents think that their children are getting educated, and they're actually being manipulated. So that's a hard question. Many parents are pulling their children out of the public schools because their children are coming home and saying, "Daddy, I want to be a boy. Daddy, I want to be a girl," or "Mommy, I want to be a boy," or and typically in growth and development, kids can do that. Kids can play out things. What's going on in schools is not right. So it's
It's
something
being
that
introduced is what you're saying. It's being introduced there
it's being
when
taught.
it's
Yes,
being
yeah.
taught
DEI,
when they may not
DEI,
have ever come
SEL.
across it yet.
It's so my heart hurts for the manipulation of these children. And I hope to God that things are changing so that they aren't being manipulated by who? State Board of Ed, legislature, um, the individuals who are working to put this material into the schools. my heart hurts for these children, and certainly knowing people who have committed suicide. God bless them. It's horrible. It's a very horrible scourge that people are doing things against our children. Um,
Yeah, no, it is. So you have the 4 different groups again. You want to name them off. There's CTRA, there's the Family Institute, and who are
Moms
the
for Liberty of Hartford County and Families for Freedom. Yep.
yeah.
So we're all
So
gathering together to defeat these 2 bills tomorrow from 10 to 12 to get the to educate the public post-COVID. Because again, we weren't going to the legislative office building to meet people, our representatives in person. So this is going to help them meet their legislators, their representatives, because they represent us, and that the representatives should know. I called my 2 today and left messages so that I hopefully can meet with them. I mean, I know both of them. Um, but maybe some of these people that we are reaching out to um, have never been to the legislative office building, so it might be something completely new. So
Mhm.
lobby day, hopefully we'll get these 2 bills defeated. There's so many bad bills, so many this session. But we the people, more we can explain to people that it's your right to go and talk with those people who you've elected into office and have them make the right decisions for the people. That's the
Yeah,
way it's supposed to be.
I think another point that's not made enough is that the parental rights people are not saying that you can't raise your kid the way you want to.
Of course not.
They're saying the exact opposite, is that you should raise the kids the way you want to, and that certain issues or certain topics are reserved for the parents to teach their kids about and not in the schools.
Well, it's up
And
to the
I
parent, right?
yeah.
If you have good communication with your school district, if you have a good school board, good superintendent, you know, good teachers, good principals, well then it should be like a well-oiled machine, right? Like if there's a problem, you go in and you speak with them, and subtle changes, only subtle changes are needed. Um, Whether or not you choose to, have the sex talk class. I think here it was 5th grade. Um, that's up to, yeah, the parents, or many parents. If things are, you have there's a curriculum director in I think every school in Connecticut. I'm not sure if it's required or not, but there's
Mm.
certainly a process by which the school board adopts curriculum and everything. So parents, if it was working, it's not working right now. It's certainly definitely not working with the nefarious, materials, the books and SEL, CRT. Um, so much happened during COVID that we've been hoodwinked, so to speak. Um, because I certainly want my taxes to go to educating the children in my town, and certainly having other schools like vocational schools and magnet schools, critical needs, special ed. We need we need funding for special ed. So I certainly want all the children in my community and everybody else in their communities to go to actually doing the right thing for the kids. When we go down these rabbit holes and things that um, are questionable, let's say, then that's up to the parents in the district. Again, if the school district is actually functioning well, to make those decisions, they make those. Back in the day, I'm sure our parents did that.
Mhm.
But now we're off the deep end, so um, we, the people, need more voices to go to Hartford and see that things are changed into a positive way, and certainly, either um, the process is to, uh, if you don't like who's elected, then you elect somebody else.
Yeah, and I think the one thing that we agree on is that we got to kind of figure out where that line is, uh, agree upon it, and that's where the line is. It's not this sneaking around stuff, uh, and trying to circumvent parents with their kids. But I want to thank you for coming on and having this discussion with me. I think we got over some humps and rocks and bumps there, and I appreciate you for pulling me out when I was starting to get down into some territory that was more probably best
Well, if
left
it's for another
unlearned.
day, we can
Yeah.
talk another day.
Hmm.
Yeah, the focus to be about lobby day tomorrow, which again, post COVID, in the post COVID world, we're now
Hmm.
dealing with, and that's another whole thing where the world has been uh, hoodwinked, and people are dying now, and more rapidly, or the same number during the pandemic. Um, we'll we'll see what else.
That's a whole nother show.
That's yeah. But I thank you for allowing me to come on
No,
and
I
talk about
appreciate you
Lobby
coming on.
Day. And
Well, also, I appreciate that you have an organization that is contributing to civil discourse on these issues, and it's not just hurling insults and everything, because we need to be able to talk about these things. And I'm a Republican, right? I'm a moderate. I was a Democrat, and I skipped over the line because there's a lot of things that I didn't agree with. And there's a lot of fiscal things, gun rights, and a lot of stuff that I just align better with Republicans.
you're a
But
businessman.
yeah, I'm a businessman, and but then when I see, and this isn't in Connecticut, like I understand that politics are very much regional, right? And that national politics, people get into their brains and then they try and wreak it out in their home state, which might be completely different than, say, Texas or Florida to Connecticut and New York, right? It's a different cultures, right? But we need to still be able to have discussions and talk together. And so I think, that that people who are willing to have these discussions, and they're not always easy, right? They do get emotional and stuff like that, but we have to do it. We have to get back to a point in time to where we can work these things out, because when they get us off into the corners, that's when we really lose a lot of ground, I think, for everybody. So I really thank you for coming on. And if anybody wants to show up tomorrow at the Legislative Office Building for 10 a.m., room 1C, Ann and the other groups, CTRA and Family Institute and the moms, and I
Moms
keep
for
forgetting
Liberty and
moms.
yeah,
Yep,
Families for Freedom. Yep.
and Families
We'll
for
have
Freedom.
materials for them, and give them guidance if they haven't heard. If today at what time is your show? Five,
We're
did you
gonna,
say?
yeah, we'll be on at 5 o'clock talking about this stuff
Okay, so
for
then
everybody.
anybody can, the Family Institute has a great webpage about about our lobby day tomorrow,
Mhm.
and there's a great flyer that really, there's pages and pages on this bill. So there's a great flyer that's easy to read and easy to digest what it's about. And then, yeah, and we will help. We're going to help people in the second hour, make phone calls with their legislators, see about setting up appointments. And for anybody that does see this, and we have hardworking parents, husbands, wives, people. If they can't make it tomorrow, that they can do remote lobbying,
Oh
and
yeah.
we're post COVID. We can meet in person, or we can make phone calls and set up an effort to meet with your representatives and have a good discussion about what why are we opposing these two bills, and certainly there's many other bills that you can independently discuss with your representatives. So
And what's your
thanks,
website if
Dan.
people want to learn more about the CTRA? Ann?
So CTRA's website is www.ctra.us.
That's right. And this is President Ann Manusky of the CTRA. And I really, again, thank you for coming on, and good luck with your lobby day. It sounds like you've got all the bases covered there.
We
And
think so,
people,
yes.
yeah,
We're excited.
yeah,
We're
it was a nice
excited. It'll be a great
discussion.
day.
I appreciate it very much, and we'll do it again. We'll find out how the lobby day went, and there's, like you said, sometimes you think things have gone away and you've beat them, but then they pop back up in the middle of the session as some other bill and stuff like that. So I know everybody's watching pretty carefully, and we'll check back in with you. Okay.
Great. Thanks, Dan. Thanks again for having me.
Yeah. Excellent. Great show. I'm going to let you go here and close the show up. Enjoy the rest of the day. It looks nice and sunny out where I am now.
Here too.
So that is Ann Manusky of the CTRA, and they have their lobby day tomorrow from 10 to 12 at the Legislative Office Building in Room 1C. If you are up there or want to go up there and support them or protest or whatever, learn more about it, then that's where you need to be, because these things are going to be discussed, and political action is important. I like to bring on people from every single background, and the CTRA is a group that represents a lot of people here in Connecticut who are conservatives. They have their 13 principles that you need to sign on to be part of that. If you want to join their group, and you can learn more about them at ctra.us. But that's it for me today, and thanks for tuning in. I'm veteran political strategist Dan Newmeyer, and you're watching CT Politics TV. Thanks for watching.